The 1965 season saw the Vikings finish with 7 wins and 7 losses. It was a season highlighted by a versatile, explosive offense and spiced by violent, hard-hitting defense. For head coach Norm Van Brocklin, it was another year of progress. And under his experienced eye, the Viking offense blossomed into a strong striking force which rated 4th in the NFL. This is the spark plug of the Vikings, Fran Tarkenton, the minister's son from Georgia, who introduced the word scramble to the football vocabulary of the NFL. A spectacular freewheeling quarterback, Tarkenton is the man who puts Minnesota on the scoreboard. Against the Colts, France's teams with Hal Betzel for a 35-yard touchdown. Tarkenton turns ball carrier against the Rams and sets out on a winding trip that terminates 38 yards later. A hard rush proves futile as Tarkenton unloads in the nick of time to fullback Bill Brown. Here's the Georgia Peach doing what he does best, scrambling, as he scampers for 25 yards against the world champion Green Bay Packers. A defender's nightmare, scrambling Fran baffles the Bears with this bit of daring do. Mr. Tarkenton will be a big attraction in the Los Angeles Coliseum, where the Vikings, in need of a win, battle the Rams. But Roman Gabriel starts the Rams off with a screen pass to Terry Baker, who picks up some picture book blocks and sprints 38 yards to the end zone. The Vikings get on the scoreboard when Tarkenton sets out around left end, but turns and throws into the waiting arms of Gordy Smith to close the gap 14-7 Rams. In the second period, the Rams are forced to punt. Ed Shirachman, number 45, roars in to smother the kick. Lonnie Warwick picks up the free ball, rambles for a touchdown, and the game is knotted at 14 apiece. Tommy Mason takes the handoff and moves around end for 21 yards. It's Mason again. Tommy eludes 3 tacklers and cartwheels into pay dirt as the Vikings vault into the lead. Tarkenton lands a 43-yard beauty into the hands of Red Phillips, whose twisting reception makes it goal to go for Minnesota. On first down, Tarkenton elects to throw. A tight Ram pass defense bottles up the primary receivers, but Tarkenton takes aim on Phillips, who has slipped into the corner of the end zone. Red is all alone and wraps it up for 6 points. As the third quarter opens, Tommy Mason chops down one would-be tackler and leg whips another to clear the decks for Phil King and a 20-yard advance. Tarkenton takes to the airways and wings a pass to fullback Brown. Bill makes the grab, and tight end Gordy Smith makes the block. That enables Brown to get 10 yards closer to the Los Angeles goal line. Brown puts the capper on this scoring drive with a 2-yard touchdown plunge. The Rams rally late in the 4th stanza as this Gabriel to Snow completion makes it Rams 35, Vikings 35. Tarkenton highlights a final Minnesota march as he tosses a swing pass to Mason, who cleaves out 25 yards. With just 2 minutes to play, automatic Fred Cox pumps a 14-yard field goal through the uprights, and the Vikings are victors 38-35. The backbone of the Viking offense is the running game, second best in the NFL. Tommy Mason and Bill Brown, the blowtorch and the blaster, form a perfect combination of speed, power, and versatility. Tommy Mason, the Vikings' smooth-running halfback, rushed for nearly 600 yards despite missing 5 games. Here, Tommy burns the Packers for 26 yards. The first Viking ever to attain All-Pro honors, Mason scoots 24 yards through the Cleveland Browns. At full speed in a single stride, Tommy crashes into the Detroit end zone for a score. Mason doubles as a pass receiver against the Baltimore Colts, then travels downfield for a big gain. Bill Brown is the other half of the Viking running tandem. This hard-timbered blaster was the 6th-ranked rusher in the NFL. Brown splits the 49er forward wall, then spins away for extra yardage. The center of the Chicago defense is ripped open by the hard-charging Boom Boom Brown. One of Minnesota's favorite plays is the screen pass to Bill Brown. Flanker Tom Hall cracks back on Joe Fortunato of the Bears. Brown moves through the open corridor for 15 yards. Tarkenton hands off to Brown, and the chunky fullback whirls away on his longest run of the year. 40 yards and a touchdown. Rookie Dave Osborne, off on a 20-yard scoring sprint against the Rams, is one of the able backup men for Mason and Brown. The arrow is on Milt Sunday, whose job is to clear the track for the Viking runners. Against New York, Sunday pulls from his guard position and rolls out the red carpet for Tommy Mason with this block on the cornerback. The right guard is Larry Bowie. On this play, Larry escorts Phil King around in. Lamar Lundy, number 85, is the unwanted guest who is sliced down by Bowie's driving block. The arrow points to Fran Tarkenton's bodyguard, 2-time All-Pro center Mick Tinglehoff. Tarkenton prepares to throw, but when Francis starts to run, it's Tinglehoff's bone-popping block that enables the Vikings to pick up a crucial first down. When it comes to pass protection, tackle Grady Alderman is one of the best. Against the Giants, Grady gives Tarkenton ample time to single out a receiver for a touchdown. The versatile Viking offense was at its best in this seesaw battle in San Francisco. A John Brody to Bernie Casey completion stuns the Vikings and puts the Bay Area boys in a commanding 21-0 lead. The Vikings fight back as Tarkenton targets Bill Brown on the sideline, and Boom Boom steams over the stripes for 47 yards. In scoring position, the Vikings call on Mason. Bill Brown is Tommy's passport to pay dirt. He topples Mike Dowdle, and Tommy swings in to tally. Back on the offensive, Tarkenton tunes in on the long-distance frequency, and Paul Flatley picks him up loud and clear for a gain of 38 yards. Brown rambles up the middle, and the Vikings are on the touchdown trail. Mason plunges into the end zone, and Minnesota narrows the San Francisco lead. But with just 29 seconds left in the half, Brody finds Casey alone for another score, and San Francisco still leads by 3 touchdowns. Undaunted, Fran Tarkenton turns Tommy Mason loose for 35 yards early in the third quarter. Fran spears Hal Bedsole with a look-in pass that's good for a touchdown. Minutes later, it's the Vikings in possession again. Guards Milt Sunday and Larry Bowie pull out of the line to lead Mason around end. Bowie rolls up the 49er cornerback, and Mason dips to the inside. A crunching block by Sunday gives Mason safe conduct to the goal line, and the Vikings have sliced San Francisco's advantage to 3 points. Fran Tarkenton headlines the fantastic Minnesota comeback with this scoring strike to Paul Flatley that vaults the Vikings into the lead 42-41. Desperately trying to regain the lead, Brody fires to Casey. Larry Vargo's diving interception squelches the drive, and the Vikings notch a thrilling 42-41 comeback victory. One of the stars of that amazing comeback was Paul Flatley, the former Northwestern standout, whose reaching hands and shifting feet make him one of pro football's top receivers. Here Flatley collects one of those passes that made him the Vikings' leading receiver in 1965. Ron Vanderkellen pinpoints Paul in the middle of the 49ers secondary. Flatley ricochets off a trio of tacklers and moves deep into enemy terrain. Against Chicago, Flatley uses a quick head fake to gain a step on Dave Witzel, and one step is all he needs. Football is a game of two acts. One, the offense. The other, the defense, composed of the men you see in action now. Fierce men who thrive on violence. Here's the Viking defense at its best, swarming all over Earl Morrall and dropping him in his own end zone for a safety. Number 81 is Carl Eller, crossing the line intent on destroying the passer, and destroy him he does, as the Vikings register a safety. Gary Larson, the Vikings' 260-pound defensive tackle, barges through Baltimore's line and spins quarterback Gary Quazzo like a toy top. Minnesota came up with an exceptional find in rookie linebacker Lonnie Warwick. A hard, cracking competitor, Warwick needs only experience to become a top-notch pro. Lonnie wrecks a Colt screen pass with this slashing tackle. Number 59, Warwick, invades the Bear backfield and knocks Ronnie Bull to his knees with a slashing tackle. Talk about linebackers, here's the man they can't forget. Rip Hawkins, the ringleader and captain of the Viking defense. The Hawk is poised to strike against the Baltimore Colts. Johnny Unitas buckles under Rip's blitz for an 8-yard loss. Against the Rams, the Minnesota defense was at its clawing, mauling best. Jim Marshall jars the ball loose, and Eller picks it up for the Vikings. Linebacker Rip Hawkins leads a beefy stampede that tramples the Ram quarterback. Bill Munson attempts another pass, but down he goes for a 10-yard loss. A hard rush by Bill Jobko forces Munson to make a hurried throw. Ed Shirachman intercepts, and when Vargo peels off Tommy McDonald, Shirachman has room to maneuver downfield. Ed Shirachman, the rugged veteran of the Viking secondary, intercepted 6 passes in 1965. Ed pirates this Chicago aerial and cruises 22 yards on the return. rain and the mud proved no handicap to Schrockman's radar as the former pit star homes in on this Detroit aerial. Ed makes the grab, gets the goal line clearly in focus, and slogs through the mud for a 40-yard touchdown return. A newcomer to the Vikings secondary is Jeff Jordan, a rookie from Tulsa who puts an end to this Packer march with a leaping interception. Rip Hawkins lends a helping hand to the secondary as he shortcuts this Lion aerial. The defensive high point of the season was this game against the Cleveland Browns. Jim Marshall, playing one of his finest games, slides across the line and drops Jim Brown for no gain. Jim Marshall is on stage again. This time he brings the curtain down on Mr. Brown for a 2-yard loss. Paul Dixon stops Brown on this play. In this game, the stingy Viking defense held Cleveland's great fullback to a mere 39 yards in 18 carries. Gary Larson, the left tackle, gets in his licks, and Brown is down at the line of scrimmage. Rip Hawkins, who keyed on Brown throughout the game, is on a collision course with the big fullback and derails him for a yard loss. Even the secondary got into the act. Little Ursel McBee sets his sights on Brown and brings him down after a small gain. At the goal line, Bill Jobko knifes in from the flank, denying Brown a score. Now let's see what the offense contributed in this game. A Tarkenton to Flatley completion gets the Vikings going in the first period. Tarkenton flips out to Brown, and Boom Boom barrels through the Browns to the 1-yard line, where he scored on the next play to move Minnesota ahead 7-3. In the second quarter, Fran goes Air Express to Tommy Mason on the swinging up pattern. Mason makes the grab and dashes into the end zone for a 72-yard touchdown. It's the longest Viking scoring play of the year, and they lead 14-10. It's 3rd and 20 on the Vikings 39 in the waning moments of the first half. Tarkenton drops back to throw, then decides to run. Finding himself trapped, he laterals the ball to Bill Brown, who shrugs off Jim Kanicki and reverses his field. Behind beautiful blocks from Mason, Flatley, and finally Tarkenton, Brown gains 28 yards and a key first down. Tarkenton tosses to Brown again, and Bill batters to the 2-yard stripe. The Tarkenton to Brown combo climaxes this drive, and the Vikings lead 21-10 at halftime. Bill Brown, enjoying his finest day of the year, opens the second half with this twisting trip around the Cleveland flank. Mason pops through a narrow hole for 10 yards. Tarkenton pegs to Flatley as the Vikings move deep into Brown land. Early in the fourth period, Van Brocklin employs his kicking unit when the Cleveland defense stiffens. Fred Cox splits the uprights, and the Vikings beat the Eastern champions 27-17. This is the face of victory, Bill Brown, who was voted the NFL's Back of the Week. Lady Luck plays a part in every game, and she certainly frowned on the Vikings during their second encounter with the Packers. A Packer field goal is deflected by Jeff Jordan, but hits the post and bounces through. In the final minutes, Minnesota trails by 5 points. Tarkenton hits Tom Hall for an apparent score. But Hall was called for offensive pass interference, and despite his objections, the play was nullified. Tarkenton won't give up. He rolls to his right in search of a receiver, locates Red Phillips and cuts loose. Red makes a diving catch in the corner of the end zone, but it's ruled an incompleted pass. The ensuing discussion proves useless, and the Vikings drop a heartbreaker to the Packers 24-19. In the season's finale, the Vikings meet the red-hot Bears in frozen Wrigley Field. After a tense but scoreless first half, Ronnie Bull wheels into the pay station to give the Bears a 7-point margin. Fred Cox kicks his 29th straight field goal from within the 35-yard line to close the gap to 7-3. Rookie of the Year Gale Sayers ignites a Bear drive as he streaks down the sideline for 25 yards. As the final period opens, Sayers bores into pay dirt, and the Bears lead 14-3. But the Viking victory ship sets sail as Fran Tarkenton connects with Paul Flatley for 38 yards. Tarkenton fakes to Brown, then straightens up and pilots a 17-yard scoring shot to Tom Hall. Late in the fourth quarter, Fran takes to the airways in an effort to gain the lead. Operating behind a solid wall of blockers, he unloads with a long bomb. The ball is in the air and into the grasp of Tom Hall, who falls on the Chicago 30. The Vikings specialize in comebacks. Tarkenton sends his receivers sprinting into the Bears secondary, points the pigskin at Gordy Smith, and triggers a 6-point bullseye to tie the score at 17-all with 2 minutes to play. Bukic attempts a screen pass in a last-ditch effort to break the tie. A strong rush foils the play. Hawkins intercepts and charges in for the winning touchdown, and a thrilling upset victory for the Vikings. Play for play, thrill for thrill. The Vikings are a top team in the fiercely competitive NFL, where men like John Brody and Dave Parks of the San Francisco 49ers headline the most explosive offense in pro football. Johnny Unitas, the man who delivers in the wink of a flashbulb, makes the Baltimore Colts one of the most exciting teams in sportsdom. The savage defenses, the explosive offenses, the capacity crowds, the violence and pageantry combine to make NFL football America's most glamorous sport. Sunday after Sunday, there's a new battle and a new chance for glory. So plan to join the Vikings in 1966. Season tickets are available at Post Office Box 1818, Minneapolis 55440. Subscription is $40 per year.